Thoughts on the new jerseys?
Sick. Yeah, I like them. They did a really good job, I thought. It was brought to my attention at the owners' meetings and, met with Nike and all that stuff. I thought they did a really good job. That'll be cool. Our guys will be juiced up. It's a long way away, but I'm sure, too, the merchandise with the fans, they'll get those colorways, I think, right? It'd be pretty cool. Kind of like that, what do you call it? I'm still kind of new to the area, but the Haboob that hit on Monday. The amount of texts I got about that, are you okay? I'm like, I think, yeah. It was kind of a sight to see, though. I was taking out the garbage, and I was like, whoa. So, yeah, that's awesome. Long way away, but that'll be a cool little deal on Thursday night.
From being in the building, is look good, feel good, play good a real thing?
I always thought, I think, feel good goes into your health bucket, but, yeah, look good, feel good, play good, yeah, probably.
Kobe was not at practice yesterday. Is there anything to be concerned?
He's excused. He'll be back on Monday.
Any decisions with the captains?
You guys will get that information next week.
Just curious, as the regular season ramps up, how long?
I'm sorry, Dave. We just voted. I didn't tally it yet.
As the regular season ramps up, how long is a regular work day for you? Like today, how long are you here?
How many hours in a day? I will say this. I am a believer in this, and I tell the coaches this all the time, because everyone does it a little bit different. This is just my belief and thought. The most important time that you have in 24 hours as a football coach is when you're teaching in the meeting room and when you're teaching on the grass. So all the other things, all the other time that falls not into those two things, you have to do a really good job of being ready to execute those two things, which the time away from those two things matters, right? But you can't let that take away from the time that you're with the players. So everyone has their own process. Everyone does it a little bit different. If you asked all three coordinators how they game plan their schedules, they're all a little bit different, but I give those guys freedom. I don't mandate hours. I don't mandate, when things need to be done, this and that. They know, they're NFL football coaches. They understand the prep that needs to be put in to give our guys a chance to win, but they all do it a little bit differently. So I probably can't put a number on it, Dave, but as earlier in the week typically is a little bit later than later in the week. And I will say, I tell the coaches too, Friday I like to try to get them out decently early so they can see their family. We do Tuesday, I let them take their kid to school day because I don't, a lot of coaches do like a Tuesday dinner with coaches and families and stuff. And that was cool when I got to do that. But it was honestly, for myself, was a little bit of a stressor because it broke my brainstorming thought workflow from 5 to 6, when, 4-year-old spilling ice cream all over, So we do it a little bit different, but they don't get to see their families a lot, and that's a sacrifice that they make during the season. But I do try to get them. They can take their kid to school on Tuesday and come in a touch later because the players are off. And then the coordinators just structure what they need from those guys around that. But it's a full-time job, just like you guys work, full-time job.
I asked just because I was talking to Garrett Williams yesterday, and he said there's a thing that he believes is watching too much film, that you can over-prepare. Yeah. And I wonder, from your perspective, can you over-prepare? Have you learned in 3 years that you can be here?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can. Garrett's a really good example. We had to work hard with him, PT and Ryan, Nick. Those guys kind of let it up as far as what his routine looks like. Because I do think that he was probably staying up a little too late watching too much film. He really was. And that's just part of his, when you see his disc test, which is, you guys know what that is, kind of a personality, learning, communication, what style is he? He's a high C, which is a very analytical brain, that says, right? And Patrick Toney's a very high analytical brain. So is Nick. So, they're in cahoots together. Well, I told him, I said, there's a point where he needs to go to bed and not be up, at 10:30 watching third down again. I didn't want him watching all that tape. So I think it goes to, the type of person that Garrett is. He wants to do everything he can and gain every edge. But, there is probably a point to watching too much, for players and coaches. Quarterbacks like that too. He'll text me things on certain nights, and I'm like, dude, I don't even get it till the morning when I wake up. And he shows plays, videos, stuff like that, and I look at the timestamp right on it, and I'm like, why are you up watching this right now? Like, just watch it a little earlier, or, why are you watching it again, So everyone has their own process. Everyone's a little bit different, but you just got to balance your preparation. That's probably the best way to say it.
This has been going on for a couple of years now since the preseason kind of changed. But once upon a time, you guys would be getting ready for a fourth preseason game, and that this weekend would be a little bit more condensed before you got into the first regular season week. Do you like having this kind of mini bye, especially for players going into the season, or do you think it really?
Play within the rules. I don't know. There's probably pros and cons to both of it. Our guys, we work this week. We're going to practice today. They'll be off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Catch their breath a little bit, and they know when they come back, really the week starts Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, their health bucket, getting to bed early enough. And then when we come in here on Monday, it's all business, and you gain kind of that extra day versus New Orleans. For the coaches, they've had everything broken down since the schedule came out, so but it's going through the process again, tying up all the loose ends and making decisions. You got to start making decisions now pretty soon here. There's that goes into you too, Dave, like what you just said. Happy birthday, by the way, in a couple days. Darren, 30th? The 30? No, what day is it? 31st. 50 years old. Well, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, what I was going to say is like you got to. I tell the coordinators this all the time because week one, and even the first couple of weeks because we, obviously work ahead a little bit. But week one, you can run into the trap of doing, taking yourself completely out of a normal routine game week of how you prep and prepare and come to your decisions. You got to be careful you're not using all that time to do that, Drew and Jeff, I'm not really worried about that. They got a really good prep. Nick, he likes to go back and go back and go back and go back, I got to tell him, hey, man, like what you see is what it is. Just, put the plan together.
Going off that, is there a challenge when a team announces their starting quarterback 10 days or whatever it is before the game, or is that plenty of time?
Yeah, no, it's plenty of time. I mean, there's certain games you guys know you don't even know who you're playing until Wednesday, Thursday sometimes. But the challenge of week one are all I call them known unknowns. Like we know that these are the unknowns, and you just got to be able to handle it, So we'll put together the right amount, and we'll have a couple different plans and go from there.
How valuable is it to get 13 of your 16 practice squad players? This guys
Very, yeah, because they, a lot of those guys were right there that we feel really good about with an elevated role in the drop of a hat. So feel really good about those guys. That's still kind of fluid. Should be finalized here in the next couple days, and I'm excited about where it's at.
Joint practice in Denver was one of the last looks you got of your starters kind of going up against other starters. As you prepare now for the Saints, do you take parts of what you saw in that joint practice as something you emphasize maybe as that last look with your starters getting ready for the season?
Well, the corrections that were made from that practice, we've been emphasizing a lot of those since we got back here in Tempe, for a couple weeks now. So, yeah, absolutely. That was a learning tool for us where we were kind of at, what needs to be better. It could be just schematically, it could be technique-wise, could be how are we, who's out there. Like, is this the best unit on this down and distances situation, or is this guy, should he be in, or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, yeah, hopefully we learned a lot from it and made improvements.
When you look at this roster, there's not a position group that jumps out as a glaring hole. What are the benefits of that compared to maybe certain teams' roster constructions will run late, have good rosters, elite stars, but they do have a few position groups that jump out?
Yeah, I think, just focusing on us, I think, who's ever up on game day, everyone defining their roles for them and starring your role. I always go back to that. Like if you're if you're wearing 4 or 5 different hats on game day, you got to star that role. If you're a backup playing 3 different spots, you got to know that and star your role. If you're a premier player that's paid, $100 million, you got to star your role. So, but I feel good with the construction of the roster where everybody's at. Some continuity, I think, more so in the last 2 years, not thinking too far back, but continuity with some of the groups I like. But we also have some new guys, too, doing some things. So, these next week, these next couple games, that's where we got to figure out, how we know what the recipe is to win, but what that looks like in a game.
What have you been seeing out of the guys not named Dortch out of the return game?
I like where they're at. I think we got some guys that can, generate explosive plays, take care of the ball. I like the depth where it's at, and we'll keep developing the guys that maybe aren't quite ready or whatever the case may be. And because like I said, with the roles, somebody goes down in the first quarter who's jumping in for them. So, and you want to feel good about everybody, So, but I like where it's at. Jeff and Sam done a good job with it.
Coach, thank you.